Hi everybody, this is Maria again from the Counseling Center. Thank you so much for joining me again today. Today we're going to talk about some reactive strategies. So last time we talked about some preventative strategies, how to reduce our vulnerability to stressors, what can we do before we get stressed out to help decrease the impact that stress has on our body and our emotions. And today we're going to talk about how to react once we're there. We're already stressed, and I could say that probably most of us are, considering the conditions that we're living in today. So we're going to talk about, now that we're already stressed out and we're feeling emotions in a really big way and it's incredibly uncomfortable, what are some things that we can do to help reduce the intensity of the emotion? So most of us, whenever we experience emotions between, like, I like to look at emotions between a level 1 and 10, and if we're experiencing emotions up here in the 8 to 10 range, it feels so uncomfortable. Usually we're wanting to do something really impulsive when our emotions get that intense, and we are looking to reduce the intensity of that emotion down to more of like a 4 to 6 range, which makes it much more manageable and feels much more doable. Right, so let's talk about some strategies. The first thing I'd like to start with is our kind of heavy hitter. So let's say that we are experiencing anxiety or some sort of depression or something really intense anger, and it is very intense and so uncomfortable, and we do not feel like we can bear it any longer. So this is kind of a reset button that I've used to give to some of my clients around like how to sort of stop the intensity of the emotion once it gets to be that significant. And there's 4 steps, actually almost 5, but you don't have to do all of them. But if you're feeling it that intensely, it would be my suggestion to do these one after the other, sort of as I've recommended them. All right, step 1, bear with me, is if you're feeling really intense emotion, is to find a big bowl of water, ice water in particular, very cold, and to put your head in it. All right, so you're gonna plug your nose, hold your nose, hold your breath for 30 seconds, and duck. Right? What this is going to do is, specifically if it puts the water up like near our face and our forehead, is it is going to start something in our body called the dive reflex. So our body thinks that we dove into a really cold body of water, maybe the Antarctic water, right? And it knows instinctively that we can't live very long once we dove into this water. So anything that we were worried about before, coronavirus, breakup, classes, whatever it is that was causing our intense emotional response, kind of is not a big deal anymore, right? Because we're looking to get out of this water. So it clears the circuits. And so whatever was happening in that emotion cycle that we talked about in episode 1 sort of stops, right? And we're kind of dealing with a clean slate when it comes to our thoughts, and it stops the cascade of hormones that have been released into our body, right? So now what to do about it, now that we have all of these hormones, right, and we already had all these thoughts going on, so it's not getting any worse, but now what do we do, right? The next step is to do 2 to 5 minutes of intense physical aerobic exercise. So we have all of these hormones flooding through our system, causing us to feel very uncomfortable, and they would be the same hormones that would be there as if we saw a spider or a tiger or something pretty, well, spider to me, but a tiger to most, that would make you in a state of pretty significant physical danger. And if you were standing next to a tiger, your body would say, run, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to give your body what it wants. We are going to run, or jumping jack, or burpee, or run it up and downstairs, or do high knees, or whatever it is that you can do for 2 to 5 minutes to metabolize off that top layer of hormones that got released, right? That's going to be totally imperative for us to be able to get ourselves to a place where we're feeling more calm and recharged. The next step to this, now that we've metabolized off some of those emotions or some of those hormones, is to get our breathing under control. So the good news is that our brain communicates with our body and our body communicates with our brain. It's all one system. So if we can actually calm our body down to where it's acting like it's feeling calm, our brain will follow suit, right? So we're going to want to breathe in a way as if we were relaxed. When we are not relaxed, when we're feeling an emotion intensely, we breathe very shallow. And what ends up happening is we're breathing only to our lungs. I don't know if you can even see me, but we're breathing about to our lungs like this. And our shoulders are going up and down like this. right? And what happens is we just don't get that much oxygen. And when we're breathing in that way, our brain's like, oh my goodness, something that is not good. There must be something dangerous out there because I'm breathing in a very shallow manner. In order for our brain to start thinking everything is fine and calm and not dangerous, we need to breathe in a more intense, deep way. And so this is called belly breathing. And a lot of people probably have learned this strategy either while singing or playing a musical instrument, sometimes playing some sort of athletic activity. You learn how to breathe correctly. Or even a yoga class. A lot of times they talk about belly breathing, but instead of breathing just to our lungs, we're going to breathe all the way down to our belly, and we're going to expand our belly like an inner tube all the way around the middle, right? And when we breathe, we're going to breathe in through our nose and we're going to breathe out through our mouth in order to activate the calm down nervous system, because that's what we're trying to do, right? So what you're going to do is it's kind of look like this, right? You're going to hold your hand. I like to hold one hand over my belly button. I don't know if you can see me. Let me see if I move. One hand over my belly button and one hand on my back to make sure that I can feel both of them expanding. And then I expand all the way down to my midsection, and then I release through my mouth. So I'll show you how it works. So you hold on and you breathe in. I don't know if you saw that, but my belly expanded in the front and in the back. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to activate actually an organ down there called the diaphragm, which is going to help send a signal back up to the brain and let us know that it's okay to relax and that the danger is gone, and to bring the emotion down a couple notches. All right. So first step, head in water, 30 seconds. Second step, 2 to 5 minutes of intense physical exercise to metabolize off the hormones. Third step, get your breath under control. So 2 to 5 minutes of belly breathing all the way down to your stomach, in through your nose and out through your mouth. The next step is to fully relax all of our muscles. All right, so what ends up happening whenever we feel intense emotions is our bodies get ready to do something. They're like, oh, there must be danger present. Let's get ready to run. Let's get ready to fight, or let's get ready to play dead. So it takes all of our muscles and it slightly contracts them, getting ready to rock and roll. It's almost like a car that's revving its engine before a race. We want to get ready to get to a place of safety as fast as possible. And the body is so brilliant at getting us to do that. Unfortunately, however, if we walk around with partially contracted muscles, we stay stressed. It's sending signals back up to the brain, letting the brain know something is not so great. Something is still dangerous. You probably should stay on edge just a little bit longer. So to get ourselves back down to a place where we're feeling calm, it's important to squeeze and release, because our muscles can't just relax on their own. They need a full contraction in order to fully release. So you have to intentionally go through your entire body, squeeze each muscle and release it. I like to start with my head, but you can also start with your toes and go through and squeeze and release each muscle group in order to get rid of tense muscles. The final step is then to distract your thoughts, get your brain busy. So your body needs a little longer to recover back down. And so if you start thinking about what was making you upset to begin with, it's going to be really easy to get that to like spike up your emotion really, really quickly. Again, we need just a little more time to recover. So in order to do that, we need to distract those thoughts away from whatever it is that we were thinking about before that made us increase our emotion. So good ways to do this is to talk about something else, call somebody up. If you're talking about something at the same time, you can't be thinking about what it is that was stressing you out. I know most of us want to call somebody and tell them what we're upset about, but this is a time to talk about neutral or positive subjects. Talk about with your significant other, with your roommate, with your family, about going grocery shopping, or about something that is absolutely neutral, that's not causing you distress at that time. And then you can come back to talking about the stressor when you've decreased your emotion back more down to the 4 to 6 range. Does that make sense? All right, so step 1, head in cold water. Step 2, physical exercise, aerobic exercise, 2 to 5 minutes. Step 3, deep breathing all the way down to your belly. Step 4, full body relaxation. And 5, get your brain busy. All right, so that is kind of my heavy hitter. That is a strategy that can help reduce the intensity of an emotion. If you're feeling really strong and you just don't know what to do, that will bring it back down fairly quickly to a place that hopefully the emotion is much more manageable. couple other strategies that I think I'd like to mention about ways to manage stress once you're there. One of them is to actually start using your senses. Our senses are these powerful built-in mechanisms that we have that help us manage stress on a daily basis, hence why spas are so popular, right? So what I like to do to kind of help manage stressors is I like to create my own little kits of sensory activation of things that I know that increase relaxation, the relaxation response in me. And it's a great idea for you to think about sort of creating your own, right? So you want to put together things that activate each sense that are pleasurable to you, that activate a pleasure producing or relaxation response for you. So I have a couple of those things actually at my desk right now. One of the things I've been smelling, I don't know if you guys can see this, but right now I have doTERRA On Guard. I really love essential oils. I have this kind of pumping out of my essential oil diffuser right now. I love the smell. It's like cinnamony, kind of clovey, and it really makes me feel relaxed. I have my container of jelly. Easter's coming, so I have my container of jelly beans and dark chocolate in here for when I need a little pick-me-up snack. I have a couple different things. I really love fur. So I have actually a stuffed animal that I utilize, and I'm actually sitting on a fur pelt right here in my chair, right here. So if I'm feeling stressed, even while I'm putting on this little workshop, I can just kind of pet the fur right underneath my leg. I also have this picture at my desk, which activates my sight of my two littles. These are my two little children who help me regulate my emotions when I'm feeling stressed. So I like to keep things at my desk or with me, and I also carry like a small version of this in my purse to help me manage stress on a daily basis. And so my challenge to you is to kind of come up with your own sensory kit that helps address all of your 5 senses in a soothing manner and helps induce that state of relaxation to manage the ongoing stress. A few other strategies, I have my notes here, I just want to make sure I don't want to miss, are some sort of like distracting with activities. One of the things that I know could be really, really helpful now in particular is an activity that contributes to others. So we know that anytime we do anything kind for somebody else, we are activating serotonin production, which is like happy, feel good, I feel great about myself hormone. And by doing any sort of activity for somebody else, either online or, making a card and sending it in the mail, that can actually help us manage stress in an ongoing way. So coming up with some sort of different distraction activities specifically focused on helping other people can be really helpful at managing ongoing stress. Doing something kind for someone else is also sort of in the same area of we are trying to basically come up with our own brain hack and figure out ways to increase our serotonin production. So kindness and caring and actual gratitude can actually activate those particular hormones in an incredibly effective way. One strategy that I really find to be incredibly helpful is this idea around emotions being able to neutralize other emotions. So whenever we experience an intense emotion, so let's say we're feeling anger at a level 8 to 10, and we want to be able to neutralize it, we can add another emotion. It doesn't have to be a quote unquote positive emotion to be able to neutralize it. So for example, fear. If you were to watch a scary movie, or if someone were to scare you, or even if you were to play some sort of like hiding game, adding an element of fear or anxiety can actually reduce the intensity of the anger because our emotions neutralize each other, right? Whenever we experience, for example, sadness, if you add an emotion of anger or fear, right, thinking about something that makes us angry can help reduce the intensity of the sadness. One strategy a student I was working with actually used, which I thought was brilliant, and I took it and I ran with it, and I've suggested it to many other people, is creating almost sort of a series of songs, a playlist that sort of goes from the emotion that you're experiencing and gradually brings you to another emotion to neutralize it. So this particular student created 5 songs that went from feeling sad to feeling angry. And it took him about 10 to 15 minutes to sort of shift his emotion using this strategy of emotions neutralizing each other. And I loved it, so I thought I would share it with you guys today. The last strategy I'd like to kind of bring in that I find to be incredibly helpful is this idea of imagery. Imagery is used in so many different areas of psychology and is incredibly effective and has had a ton of evidence to support the use. And it's this idea of creating a space in your head or in your mind or in your imagination that is safe, and you sort of have to imagine what you would be experiencing in great detail, what you would be experiencing through your senses that helps to neutralize your emotion even when you can't escape a stressor. So even if you're in a stressful situation, by tapping into a space that feels safe and comforting and really imagining that in incredible detail and practicing this ahead of time can help reduce the intensity of that stressor. So for example, if you create a safe space that you're on the beach and you're under an umbrella and you're listening to waves lapping, you're going to want to practice in detail what you're experiencing, what you're thinking about, what you're visualizing, the sand underneath your toes. Practice imagining yourself in this space ahead of time, over and over and over. And your body actually starts to react and respond when you go to that place in your imagination, like you are in that space, like you are on that beach, like your toes are in the sand. When we do this, we are able to then activate this when we need it if we're in a state of stress. So for right before we're about to take an exam and we feel our anxiety heighten because we don't know the first answer, or if we're listening to the news and we don't know when this self-quarantine is going to be going away. So these stressors sort of come out of the blue, and it's great to kind of have this idea of imagery, creating your own safe space in our back pocket to utilize when we need it. And to help sort of like manage this and create a sense of balance with whatever stressor we're experiencing at the time. So I hope those strategies were helpful for you. Let me go through and review. The first were our tip skills, which were sort of the head in the water skills. And then we talked about creating a self-soothing kit to activate all of our senses, almost like a personal spa that you can carry with you, finding things that induce relaxation and pleasure. We talked about distracting with activities for others and being kind to others to help release serotonin and sort of hack the way our brain actually works. We also talked about how to neutralize emotions, and when we add in another emotion, whatever emotion it may be, it helps to decrease the intensity of the emotion we're experiencing. And lastly, we discussed this idea of imagery, where we're sort of creating a safe space that we're able to activate in times of stress, even when we can't escape it. I would love if you have any questions to give you some more information, so feel free to email me, Maria, at the Counseling Center. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you at our next episode. Bye.